Good morning. Welcome to Stitching with Cindy Botts. Today we're going to talk about this really cool multi-purpose tote bag. It has so many pockets. So let's begin with its size. It is large. It is at least 18 inches wide and about 4 to 5 inches for the width of the bag. For the size, the front again is like 18 inches wide. So let's look at it here. So we have these nice side panels with a pocket here, perfect for pens, pencils, things like that. We have a nice deep drop-in pocket and an identical pocket here. So two deep ones on both the front and the back, and the nice pen, pencil type size on each end. Now looking inside the bag, you can see it's got a big cavernous space, which is awesome for toting around groceries or whatever else you may have, gym clothes, whatever. Then you have two really nice drop-in pockets on the side. These two nice big drop-in pockets. All right. Then you also have on each side a zipper pouch that goes right along the drop-in pouch part. Okay, so it is the full width of the bag for that zipper pouch, and then the drop-ins are half. All right, and I've got a nice wide handle on that, and let's get started. It is just an awesome bag. I can't wait to get using it. Like I said, there's just so much room inside, all the pockets to keep you organized. Now for the actual demonstration here, instead of a 20 by 20 square, which is what I cut for the tote bag, I cut 10 by 10 inch squares. So it's about half the size, just so that we can see what we're doing and talk about it. I don't want to waste material by doing a mock-up full scale, so this works well for me. So I cut two of these 20 by 20 squares for the outside pockets. I cut four of those because you want it to be lined. Okay, so you have two for this side, two for the other side because it's lined. So 4 20 by 20 inch squares for the outside pockets. The outside fabric itself, you need one for the front, one for the back, so 2. The inside fabric, again, you need 2. One for the inside, one for the front, and one for the back of the inside section. Now for the pockets, you're also going to need I believe 4 more of the 20 by 20, whatever color you want the inside pockets to be. Okay, so if you want them to be this coordinating fabric, you want it to be the blended fabric, however you want it to be. For the side panels, I cut those at 5 by 20. You're going to need 2 of the inside fabric, one for the left side, one for the right side. On the outside, you're going to need 2, one for the left side, one for the outside. You're going to need interfacing for that also. So you're going to cut interfacing 20 by 20, 2 pieces. Then for the side panel, 5 by 20, 2 pieces. And then you're going to want to cut this here pocket. I cut that 5 inches wide by the 20. I cut 2 of those, and then I folded it in half and just discarded the rest that I didn't need. Okay, so that's for that. You're going to need 2 large zippers for the inside, and you're going to need to cut a strip 4 or 5 inches wide, depending on how you want your handle to be. I like a soft handle. This one I cut at 4 inches. Folded it in half, then folded it again to make it 1 inch wide, and then I just cut down, then I just sewed in 1/4 of an inch and then another 1/4 of an inch to get 4 rows of stitching. I do not have interfacing inside it. Okay, so that's how I did my straps. Let's look at the outside panel. So the outside panel has the pockets. They have the lining in the pocket, so you don't see any raw edges. All right, so to do that portion, I took my 20 by 20 inch square, my background. All right, laid that down. Then I took one of the coordinating fabrics and I folded it in half. All right, ran that through the sewing machine, folded it over, opened it up, pressed it, folded it over, and put some top stitching on it. All right, so that's what that piece is. Then I took another piece that I cut. This, I believe, was 5 inches by 20, and I made this section here. You can see I don't have the stripes lined up for a good reference. You can see where this is. If you wanted to use 3 coordinating fabrics, you want to make sure that you have a dark at the bottom, so if your bag gets set on the floor, it doesn't show dirt, and it just gives the bag more stability and able to wear longer. Okay, so what I did was I decided how far down the bag I wanted the pocket to be. I laid the top edge where I wanted that to be, and I went ahead and sewed it down. Okay, so you're going to put this piece, this folded in half top stitch piece, where you want it to be. Now you're going to have some raw edges there, but that's okay. We're going to cover those up. Then you take that 5-inch wide piece and you lay it across it and you sew it down. Okay, when you do that, it now encases the seam. Okay, so let's fold this back and you can see where that seam is encased. You have no raw edges. Okay, so then I went ahead and I stitched a seam down the middle. All right, and what that does is divides this big space into 2 very nice sized pockets. All right, if you didn't put a center seam in there, it would really gap, and I don't think that it would function the way you'd want it to. Because it is so large, if you wanted to do it in thirds, you still would be able to get your hand in the pockets. So you could make 3 on the outside if you wanted them a little bit smaller. All right, so here we are, folding this back just for a little quick peek, and you can see how when we sew the sides, that will be encased. So here I already have sewn on the side. All right, and you can see that that finishes off that front pocket. When we sew this part on here, when we sewed that, it made the bottom of the pocket. So the sides and the bottom were all set. Now for this side pocket, look at what I did. Isn't that awful? I wasn't being careful and I sewed the pocket on upside down. Learn from my mistake. Be mindful of that. Be careful that when you're sewing your pieces together, that the top is always at the top. Otherwise, it's not going to function for you. But for demonstration purposes, sometimes I think it's good to show mistakes. It's a very simple fix. Just jack the ripper and take that out. Okay, but let's see how to make that piece. So, one of the first things you're going to want to do is put your interfacing on all your big pieces and your side seams. So here's one of my side seams right here. This is one of my 5-inch pieces for the large bag. It's only like 3 for this. And what I did is I folded it in half, put a stitch on it, and it's ready to go, which is the same thing that we did for here. All right, you just fold it over, put a stitch on it, gives it some nice strength. Okay, then you're going to want to decide on your side panel, where do you want that pocket to hit? Okay, so you find that out, look at it, lay it down. All right, so then you take and lay your piece on it. Here's my raw edge. and you sew that down. Then you fold it over. Now if you decide, well, I don't really want it that high, look at how high I got that, you can always just kind of fold it over itself and make it a little smaller, but down farther from the top, okay? And then just sew the seam here, sew across the bottom, and sew up the side, and then you have your nice pocket. Mine's upside down, but you get the idea. Then you go ahead and sew it onto your main part of your tote bag. All right, so then you would have your other side here like so. All right, so you would have both sides on. All right, and then you would sew on the other side. All right, so you would have your other side sewn here. Okay, so you have this nice long strip. Then you would take and fold it over, lay it on top of each other, and sew the final seam. Since this is the top, you can go ahead and sew the whole straight bottom piece down. Now I did forget to mention adding the straps. Before I fold that over and make this tote into the bag shape, I really would like to put the straps on while it's flat. It just seems the easiest time for me to do that. I know some people put them on later. Really doesn't matter, it's your choice. So again, to make the strap, it's just a 4-inch wide piece. You fold it over in half, press it down with the iron, fold it in, stitch a 1/4 of an inch down. You can barely see my stitching. 1/4 of an inch on each side, then another 1/4 of an inch in. All right, and then right up here, these raw edges are going to be encased in this seam when we sew the inside and outside of the bag together. So go ahead and just sew that down, and then I like to go down another 1/4 of an inch and sew it again, so it's really good and tight. Now you're going to want to measure from the side seam in and from the side seam in so that your handle is centered. All right, you don't want too big of a gap here, but you don't want too small of one either. So you can kind of see how large that is. I'll put my hand there so you can see, you know, it's a nice size gap between it, from the side to the side. All right, now when you're doing your sewing, after you get that on there, it's a good idea to kind of fold that in and just pin it so that it holds it and your strap doesn't get sewn in a seam somewhere. Okay, so let's just take a look here. We would have this part done, the side seam on, the other side seam on, and the other part of the outside of the bag, either the front or the back, whichever this is, and you are going to fold them over on top of each other, right sides together, and sew your seam all the way around the edges. Okay, and since this is the outside, we are not going to do the hole for the pull through. We're going to do that on the inside. All right, so now we're going to look at the inside. Now you don't have to put any pockets at all on the inside if you don't want to. You can do the same type of drop-in pockets on the inside if you want, or you can do zipper pockets. So here is the inside, the zipper pocket. Okay, here it is. Goes the full width of the panel, and you can make it have the 2 drop inside. So let's talk about how to construct that. So to do that, I took the 2 different color squares, the 20 by 20. I just folded them in half. This is the raw edges. All right, there's the raw edges. I sandwiched that in and sewed down the zipper, just sewed it down. Okay, then you can go ahead, let me take these clips off. All right, that was just to show you how you can sandwich that zipper between that. You get the one side and the other side, then you just fold it back and stitch it down like I did here. Okay, now what's really nice to do here is you could do a couple different things. Let's talk about what I did. So then you take your two ends, this bottom edge and this bottom end, and you sew them together, forming a tube with the pull in the middle. Okay. All right, so here is my tube pulled right side out. You can see that's a tube. All right, get a little better screen angle on it. There's my tube, there's my seam. Okay, and then you can have a wide top of the contrasting color or a narrow one. Just lay that flat, flatten out that tube. Okay, and then you're going to sew down the sides and across the bottom. All right, and up the side, and that's going to make your pocket. Now if you leave it like that, this whole drop-in is the full length, and again it's gonna gap on you. All right, so go ahead and open up your tube, your inside pockets. All right, and it will open enough that you can actually go ahead and from where that is the top, just go ahead and stitch down to where the bottom of this is. Okay, so just on the inside, make a stitch line, and that will divide your back pockets while leaving you this nice big full open pocket. Okay, then you're just going to want to go ahead and sew on your two side seams. All right, sew on your two side seams, and that will give you the side seam for your pocket also. All right, so you're going to sew on those two side seams. Let's just get this laid here. All right, then you're going to add your other either the front or the back and sew that together. All right, so you have one big tube, and at the bottom you're going to go ahead and sew the bottom piece. Now I have to remind you to leave this open. Okay, the other thing is when you're sewing this, you want to make sure that your sides, here I have another little mock-up, that your side panels are in the right position. Okay, so here is my little mock-up. Okay, you want to make sure that your side panels are folded over onto themselves. All right, you want to make sure that you have, you know, half of it for the front and half of it on the side for the back at this point. Okay, so you can see I use a couple different colors so that you could see that well. This is you know, the front or the back and the side seam. Okay, then what you're going to want to do is on the inside leave this hole, the turn hole. Okay, make sure you make it wide enough to turn your things through. Okay, you don't need to do it on the front, just on the inside. Then you're going to want to take this and you're going to want to make your boxing corners. Okay, so you just fold that back, make a nice 45-degree angle here with this seam, make a nice make sure it's nice and lined up, centered on your side panel, nice and centered, the point is, and you just sew that down, doing the same on both sides. You can measure that and draw a line so you make sure that they're the same. Okay, so now you have this little almost done bag. So you have your, this is the inside or the outside if you want the red on the outside, purple on the inside. Now what you're going to do is you're going to take that, and with right sides together, now that's very important, with the right sides together you're going to sew these bags together. All right, so you're going to just insert one inside the other, just like that. Just tuck that bag right inside. Let's see if I can do it with one hand. Oh, that's not such a good screenshot. Okay, so you're just going to go ahead, line up the side seams and pin that. So you can just pin that, clip it. I like to use my clips, and sew all the way around that circle. Okay, all the way back to where you started. Now you have the hole that you left, that opening, you're going to pull that through, and then with a top stitching, you're going to top stitch this part here. Okay, so you just tuck it all back in, the right side, the inside in there, and the outside, and then you're just going to top stitch that closed. All right, well, not closed, you're just going to top stitch it to give it stability so the bag doesn't slouch. The inside and the outside stay together nice and firm at the top. And then you're going to close the inside gap seam. Okay, at this point is where you go ahead and stitch that opening. Where'd it go? That opening closed. Okay, you just fold it back on that 1/4 inch seam line and sew it closed. It's in the bottom of the bag. No one will ever see it. Okay, and that is how you make this fantastic, roomy, large, multi-pocketed bag. All right, I hope you enjoy this project. I hope you make one. Be sure to leave me a comment and subscribe. Really appreciate it. You have a great day. Bye-bye.